1. The kunda buffer organ. Many millions of years have passed since the terrifying night of the past in which we began slowly evolving and devolving. Yet, the human being still does not know who he is, where he comes from, nor where is he going. A lethargy of many centuries weighs over the ancient mysteries, yet the verb still awaits at the bottom of the ark for the instant of its realization. Behind the Edenic tradition, there is a terrible cosmic desideratum and sacred errors which frighten and horrify. The gods also make mistakes. Thus, today, as at all times, we are confronting our own destiny. We face the psychological dilemma of to be or not to be. Much has been said about the sacred serpent, the kundalini. Yet now we are going to speak clearly about the kunda buffer organ. All of the efforts made by prophets, avatars, and gods in order to end the harmful consequences of the kunda buffer organ have been in vain. It is necessary to know that the kunda buffer organ is the negative development of the fire. This is the descending serpent which precipitates itself from the coccyx downwards towards the atomic infernos of the human being. The kunda buffer organ is the horrifying tale of Satan, which is shown in the body of desires of the intellectual animal, who in the present times is falsely called man. What is worst, which hurts the soul the most, is to know that the ones who gave the kunda buffer organ to this humanity were some sacred individuals. Ancient traditions state that during the Lemurian epoch, certain sacred individuals came to the earth in a cosmic astroship. These individuals were forming a very high sacred commission which was entrusted with studying the evolving and devolving problems of the earth and its humanity. The archangel Sakaki and the principal archphysicist and universal common chemist, angel Loisos, were the two main individuals from this holy divine commission. This sacred commission of ineffable beings is behind the whole drama of Eden. They came with bodies of flesh and bones. Their ship landed on Lemuria. During that ancient age, the human instinct was starting to develop itself into objective reasoning. This very high commission could verify to satiety that the Edenic human being already started to suspect the reason for his creation. The Lemurian root race had started to guess the true motives of its own existence, a miserable existence with just mechanical motives. Each human being is a little machine who captures and transforms cosmic energies. Then he unconsciously adapts these energies into the interior layers of the earth. Thus we are human machines, nothing else. What would this world be without the human machines? Without this seal, without this physiognomy, which is supplied by this humanity, the planet would be without a purpose. Thus, everything which is without purpose ceases to exist. Humanity as a whole is an organ from nature. This organ collects and assimilates cosmic energies which are necessary for the development of this planetary organism. Disgracefully, to be a machine is not very pleasant. Yet it is what the so-called human being is. He is a machine. That is what he is. Yes, that and nothing else. When a rebel rises with his weapons against nature, when he wants to stop being a machine, then the tenebrous powers fight against him to death. The human beings who are capable of fighting the tenebrous forces, to fight against nature, against the cosmos, etc., are very rare. Commonly, these type of rebels capitulate. Many are called, yet few are chosen. Only a few individuals attain victory against nature and achieve the right to sit on the throne of power in order to rule over it. The Lemurians already had suspected all of this. They understood with their instinct that human beings, after having offered their services as machines to this nature, were becoming perverse. Everywhere within all of the corners of Lemuria, the whole of this tragedy was instinctively suspected. Yet this tragedy was poised to appear in the Lemurians' objective reasoning. Therefore, this sacred commission, after having serenely inspected this problem, resolved to take drastic cosmic procedures in order to avoid the total dissolution of the human genre and even mass suicide. Great cosmic desiderata are behind Adam and Eve. This sacred commission is what is hidden behind that drama and Edenic scenario. Thus, everything was fulfilled and the human being received the damned stigma, the kunda buffer organ. In the course of time, maybe many centuries after, the Holy Commission returned, this time commanded by the Arch-Seraphim Sevohtartra, due to the fact that the Archangel Sakaki had converted himself into one of the four tetra-sustainers of the universe. Traditions state that they returned precisely 3 years later. Nonetheless, these 3 years are always symbolic. The fact then was that after a severe examination of the situation, the archphysician and chemist Angel Loisos destroyed the kunda buffer organ from within the human race, since the human race did not need it anymore. The human being had abandoned all of his suspicions as he had become fascinated with the beauties of this world. The gods saved the human being from a great crisis. They achieved making the human being fascinated with this world in order that he could live within it as any planetary citizen. Yet the gods could not save him from the evil consequences of the kunda buffer organ. Truly, the evil consequences of such an organ were converted into mistaken habits and customs that entered the depths of our psyche and became converted into the subconsciousness. Thus, the ego, or the psychological I, is the same subconsciousness that is rooted in the evil consequences of the kunda buffer organ. The most saintly Ashiata Shemash fought very hard in order to take the evil consequences of the kunda buffer organ out from humanity. The Holy Lama in Tibet also suffered very much in order to save humanity from the horrifying consequences of the aforementioned fatal organ. Buddha, Jesus, Moses, and other masters passed through much bitterness in order to liberate humanity from the disastrous consequences of the kunda buffer organ. Therefore, the sacred commission of ineffable beings threw upon their shoulders a terrible cosmic karma. They will pay such karma in the future Manvantara. Listen to me, Gnostic brethren. You must comprehend that you can end the evil consequences of the kunda buffer organ only with the three factors of the revolution of the consciousness. These three factors are A, death of the psychological I, B, birth of the being within us, C, sacrifice for humanity. The I dies based on rigorous creative comprehension. The being is born within us with the Maithuna, sexual magic. Sacrifice for humanity is charity and very well understood love. The schools which teach the ejaculation of semen, even when they do this in a very mystical way, are really black schools, because the kunda buffer organ is developed with such a practice. The schools which teach the connection of the lingam yoni without the ejaculation of semen are white schools, because this is how the kundalini rises through the medullar canal. The schools which teach how to strengthen the psychological I are black schools, because the evil consequences of the kunda buffer organ are strengthened with that procedure. The schools which teach the dissolution of the I, mystical death, are white schools, because they destroy the evil consequences of the kunda buffer organ. The kunda buffer organ is the tail of Satan. It is the sexual fire descending from the coccyx downwards towards the atomic infernos of the human being. 2. The ens seminis. Beloved Gnostic brothers and sisters, this Christmas it is necessary for you to deeply comprehend the evolutionary and devolutionary processes that the ens seminis undergoes, because with infinite patience you can find the whole ens virtutis of the fire element within it. Esoteric traditions state that after the disappearance of the Atlantean continent, certain knowledge related to the origin and significance of the ens seminis survived. Ancient traditions also state that this knowledge related with the ens seminis could survive the submerging of Atlantis. Yet, after 35 centuries of incessant wars, all of that knowledge was lost. Ancient priests state that from all of the primeval wisdom related with the ens seminis, there only remained the tradition which explicitly affirms that the possibility of the intimate self-realization exists with the exiohehari, semen or sperm. Certain fragments of information which are dispersed widely in distinct places indicate to us the methods in order to work with the ens seminis. The primeval Aryans, descendants of the Atlanteans, tired of so many wars, started to quest for the esotericism of the ens seminis. The searchers yearning for the light knew very well through tradition that individual self-perfection is achieved with the ens seminis. Yet they ignored the tantric clue of the Maithuna. Thus, they suffered while searching for it in vain. Truly, only the ancient Egyptian, Hindustani, etc., hierophants who were descendants of the ancient Atlantean society called Akaldan were in possession of the whole tantric science with the secret clue of the Maithuna. Admission into the ancient schools of the mysteries was something very difficult because the ordeals were terrible. Thus there were few who passed them with success. The great quantity of yearners for the light knew nothing about the Maithuna. Yet through traditions they comprehended that self-perfection was achieved when the ens seminis was wisely transmuted. The ignorant always proceed with ignorance. This is why many believed that only with mere sexual abstinence the problem of their self-realization was taken care of. This mistaken concept originated many communities of abstinent monks who were organized into sects and religions which were ignoring the Maithuna. These ignorant people believed that the problem, in order to attain their self-perfection, was resolved for them only with sexual abstinence. Ignorance was, has been, and always will be that way. What is most grievous in this matter is that still in this day and age, not only monks, but also many pseudo-occultists and pseudo-esoterists exist who are convinced that only with sexual abstinence the problem of their intimate self-realization is resolved. Formidable evolutions are within the sperm, yet there are also tremendous devolutions. For instance, the natural process of development of the sperm is evolution in itself, since the sperm is the final outcome of what we eat and drink. It is also necessary to know that the evolutions of the sperm are submitted to the fundamental sacred cosmic law of the Heptaparaparshinok, which is the law of the Holy Seven, the septenary law. When the ens seminis, the sperm, has completed its septenary evolution, then it must receive an external impulse and proceed to be transmuted with the Maithuna. Otherwise, the ens seminis enters into a full process of devolution or degradation, thus converting the individual into a degenerated infrasexual. The involution of the sperm, ens seminis, produces, among many other pernicious substances, one that is specifically malignant. It has the property of originating two types of actions within the general functioning of the physical organism. The first type of action consists of triggering the deposit of superfluous fat within the organism. The second type of action consists of originating within the human being certain malignant vibrations, which are known in esotericism as poisoninios-Kyrian vibrations. The first type originates human pigs, that is to say, horrible obese humans who are filled with fat. The second type originates skinny, emaciated humans who are intensely charged with the perverse poisoninios-Kyrian vibrations. These type of poisoninios-Kyrian vibrations manifest themselves in a dualistic way. 1. A high degree of fanaticism. 2. Expert cynicism. These are, in synthesis, the dualistic manifestations of these tenebrous vibrations. Fanaticism tends to be external, while cynicism is internal. Behold here the two sides of the same coin, the obverse and the reverse. What is most grave in this matter of absurd sexual abstinence is that the tenebrous poisoninios-Kyrian vibrations not only reinforce the evil consequences of the kunda buffer organ, but moreover, these vibrations can truly develop such a malignant organ as well. If we take into account the fact that opposite things complement and contain each other, for instance, the darkness is within the light and vice versa. Within virtue lies sin, its latent opposite, etc. Then we must comprehend in depth the word kundalini. The word kunda reminds us of the kunda buffer organ, and lini signifies end in the ancient Atlantean language. Therefore, the meaning of the word kundalini is the end, elimination of the kunda buffer organ. By deeply analyzing this matter, we arrive at the logical conclusion that we need the maithuna in order to transmute the ens seminis and to eliminate not only the kunda buffer organ, but moreover to eliminate the remaining evil consequences of such an organ. The hindmost vestiges of the kunda buffer organ are eliminated when the eye is dissolved and the serpent of fire ascends up through the medullar canal. This is why we can give the name of kundalini to the sacred fire, since this name signifies the end, elimination of the kunda buffer organ. 3. The seven cosmoses. Kabbalah states that two cosmos exist, the macrocosm and the microcosm. The first one represents the infinitely large. The second one represents the infinitely small. This Kabbalistic teaching about the two cosmos is incomplete, because it is only a fragmentary teaching. 7 cosmos exist, not 2, as some mistaken Kabbalists assume. The Absolute in itself, as explained by the Kabbalah, has 3 aspects, which are 1. Ein Sof, our 2. Ein Sof 3. And the Ein Sof, our, is the exterior circle. The Ein Sof is the middle circle. The Ein is in fact Saturday, the unmanifested Absolute. The first cosmos could not exist within the unmanifested Ein, not even within the Ein Sof. The first cosmos can only exist within the Ein Sof Or. This first cosmos is made of an entirely spiritual nature. Its name is protocosmos. The second is the Iocosmos or megalocosmos, that is to say, the vast cosmos, or all of the suns, all of the worlds of the infinite space. The third cosmos is the macrocosmos, which the Kabbalists refer to in their writings. This is formed by the Milky Way, with its 18 million suns that gravitate around the central sun Sirius. The fourth cosmos is the deuterocosmos, which is constituted by the sun of our solar system and all of its laws. The fifth is the mesocosmos, our planet Earth. The sixth is the microcosm, man. The seventh is the tritocosmos, the infinitely small, such as atoms, molecules, insects, microbes, electrons, etc. And also the avici, the abyss. The mesocosmos and the deuterocosmos exist between the microcosm, man, and the macrocosm. Therefore, the phrase which states man, the human being, is the microcosm of the macrocosm becomes a little capricious. Each one of the seven cosmos has its own laws. The Gnostic initiate has to study the laws which govern all of these seven cosmos with the goal of knowing the place that he occupies in life and what he must do in order to achieve the final liberation. The ray of creation. The Master Ji states that the ray of creation begins its development from the Absolute and ends in the moon. Master Ji's mistake consists in believing that the moon is a split-off fragment from the earth. The moon is much more ancient than the earth. It is already a dead world, a planet which belonged to another ray of creation. Truly, our own ray of creation began in the Absolute and ended in the Inferno, Infernus, Avici, Greek Tartarus, Roman Averno, or submerged mineral kingdom, which is the fatal abode of the sub-lunar tenebrous entities. The proper arrangement of the ray of creation is as follows. 1. Absolute, protocosmos. 2. All the worlds from all of the clusters of galaxies, iocosmos. 3. A galaxy or group of suns, macrocosmos. 4. The sun, solar system, deuterocosmos. 5. The earth or any of the planets, mesocosmos. 6. The philosophical earth, human being, microcosmos. 7. The abyss, hell, tritocosmos. The brethren of the Gnostic movement must deeply comprehend the esoteric knowledge which we give in this Christmas message, in order for them to exactly know the place that they occupy in the ray of creation. We need to know the path in depth with the goal of achieving the nativity within our heart and the final liberation. The ray of creation begins in the Absolute with the protocosmos. All of the worlds in the ray of creation correspond to the iocosmos. All of the suns of this Milky Way galaxy correspond to the macrocosm in the ray of creation. The deuterocosmos within the ray of creation is the sun, solar system. Each mesocosmos within the ray of creation is composed of a planet of any solar system. Our planet Earth represents one among them. The microcosm is the human being within the ray of creation. The tritocosmos is the atom and the abyss. The unique law, the law of the Absolute, exists within the first cosmos. The law of the first cosmos is converted into 3 laws within the second cosmos. Thus 3 are the laws which govern the second cosmos. The 3 laws are converted into 6 laws within the third cosmos. The 6 laws are duplicated into 12 within the fourth cosmos. The 12 laws are duplicated in order to become 24 laws within the fifth cosmos. The 24 laws are duplicated within the sixth cosmos, thus converting into 48 laws. The 48 laws are converted into 96 laws by means of duplication within the seventh cosmos. Therefore, the will of the Absolute, the unique law, is fulfilled within the protocosmos. This great law is converted into 3 within the second cosmos, which is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or positive force, negative force, and neutral force. Mechanicity starts within the third cosmos, because these 3 primordial laws divide themselves in order to become 6 laws. Life becomes much more mechanical within the fourth cosmos, since there are no longer 6 laws, but 12 laws which govern in this cosmos. Life becomes very much more mechanical within the fifth cosmos, and almost has nothing to do with the will of the Absolute, because the 12 laws have become 24 laws. Life turns tremendously materialistic and mechanical within the sixth cosmos, so that the existence of the will of the Absolute is not even remotely suspected. We live in a mechanical world of 48 laws, a world where the will of the Absolute is not fulfilled, a spot in a very remote corner of the universe, a terribly dark and painful place. The position which we occupy in the ray of creation is sorrowful, because in our world the will of the Absolute is not fulfilled. Not even the will of three divine persons called Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is fulfilled. 48 frightful mechanical laws govern and direct us. We are certainly wretched, exiled ones who live in this valley of bitterness. Underneath us, in accordance with the ray of creation, only the disgraceful souls of the abyss exist, who are governed by the horrifying mechanism of 96 laws. We need to liberate ourselves from the 48 laws in order to pass into the fifth cosmos, the one of 24 laws. Then we need to liberate ourselves from the fifth cosmos in order to pass into the fourth cosmos, the one of 12 laws. Afterwards, our work of final liberation continues, passing from the fourth cosmos into the third, and then into the second cosmos, in order to finally reach the Absolute. All of the substances from all of the 7 cosmos are within ourselves. We have the substance of the protocosmos within our thinking brain head. We have the substance of the iocosmos within the thinking system, or motor brain, distributed throughout the spinal cord. We have the substance of the macrocosm within the conscious brain, which is made up of all of the specific nervous centers of the human organism, and likewise so on. Therefore, the necessary materials for the great work are found within the human organism. If we achieve the creation of the superior existential bodies of the being, then, as a fact, we attain the liberation from all of the cosmos, including the 7th, in order to finally enter into the unmanifested Absolute, Sat Ain. The seed germs for the creation of all the existential superior bodies of the being are found deposited within the semen. The development of these seed germs is necessary and is only possible with the Maithuna, sexual magic. We have already spoken about the existential superior bodies of the being in our former publications and messages. Therefore, our Gnostic students are already informed about the subject. We know that the astral body, do not confuse it with the lunar body, is governed by 24 laws, and that the physical body is governed by 48 laws. If we create the astral body, then it is clear that we liberate ourselves from the fatal world of 48 laws. Thus we convert ourselves into inhabitants of the world of 24 laws. If we create the mental body, then we liberate ourselves from the world of the 24 laws. Thus we enter into the world of 12 laws. Let us remember that the mental world is governed by 12 laws. If we create the causal body, or the body of the conscious will, then we enter into the world of 6 laws. Thus, we convert ourselves into inhabitants of that world, because the body of the conscious will, the causal body, is governed by 6 laws. The work with the Maithuna and the dissolution of the I, plus the sacrifice for humanity, allows us to make new creations within ourselves in order to be liberated from the world of 6 laws, thus passing beyond the aeocosmos and the ineffable protocosmos. It is necessary for all of our Gnostic students to comprehend this Christmas that they can only achieve the final liberation by creating the superior existential bodies of the being, by celebrating the death of their I, and by celebrating the nativity in their hearts. The being can only enter within the one who has created the superior existential bodies. The nativity of the heart can only be truly celebrated by the one who has created the superior existential bodies of the being. The constitution of the intellectual animal, mistakenly called man, is the following. 1. Physical body. 2. Vital body. 3. Lunar body of desires. 4. Lunar mental body. 5. Pluralized I. 6. The Buddhata. The three aspects of Atman Buddhi Manas, divine spirit, spirit of life or human spirit, have not incarnated within the human being because he still does not possess the solar bodies. That is to say, the superior existential bodies of the being. The whole of our efforts are aimed towards the liberation of ourselves from the moon, which disgracefully we carry within our lunar bodies. We liberate ourselves from the lunar influence when we create the solar bodies. The luxury of creating our solar bodies can only be achieved with the Maithuna, sexual magic, because the seed germs of such bodies are found within the semen. The lunar bodies keep us living in the world of 48 laws in this valley of bitterness. The lunar bodies are feminine. This is why the men from this world are within the internal worlds after death, as subconscious, cold, phantasmagoric women. It is very pitiable that the theosophist and the pseudo-Rosicrucian writers, etc., have not been capable of comprehending that the present internal vehicles of the human being are the lunar bodies which we must disintegrate after we have created the solar bodies. To liberate ourselves from the world of the 48 laws without having created the superior existential bodies of the being is impossible. For the psychological. The pseudo-occultists and pseudo-esoterists divide the ego into two I's, the superior I and the inferior I. Superior and inferior are a division of one organism itself. The superior I and the inferior I are both the I. They are the whole ego. The intimate, the real being is not the I. The intimate transcends any type of I. He is beyond any type of I. The intimate is the being. The being is the reality. He is what is not temporal. He is the divine. The I had a beginning and inevitably will have an end, since everything that has a beginning will have an end. The being, the intimate, did not have a beginning, and so he will not have an end. He is what he is. He is what has always been and what always will be. The I continues after death. The I returns to this valley of tears in order to repeat events, to satisfy its passions and to pay karma. The being does not continue because he did not have a beginning. Only that which belongs to time is what continues. That which had a beginning. The being does not belong to time. That which continues is submitted to decrepitude, degeneration, pain, and passion. Our present life is the effect of our past life. It is a continuation of our past life. It is the effect of a former cause. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Every cause transforms itself into an effect. Every effect converts itself into a cause. Our present life is the cause of our future life. The cause of our future life will be this present life with all of its errors and miseries. To continue means to postpone our errors and pain. Therefore, what we must do is to die from instant to instant in order for us not to continue. It is better to be than to continue. The I is the origin of the error and of its consequence, which is pain. Thus, as long as the I exists, pain and error will continue to exist. To be born is painful, to die is painful, to live is painful. Pain exists in childhood, adolescence, youth, maturity, elderliness, because everything in this world has pain. Pain disappears when we cease to exist in all of the levels of the mind. Only by dissolving the psychological I do, we radically cease to exist. The kunda buffer organ is the origin of the I. The I is constituted by all of the evil consequences of the kunda buffer organ. The I is a bunch of passions, desires, fears, hatred, selfishness, envy, pride, gluttony, laziness, anger, attachments, appetites, morbid sentimentalism, heritage, family, race, nation, etc. The I is multiple. The I is not individual. The I exists in a pluralized state and continues in a pluralized state. Thus it returns in its pluralized state. Therefore, as the water is compounded by many drops, as the flame is compounded by many igneous particles, as well, the I is compounded by many I's. The I, the ego, is constituted by thousands of little I's, which continue after death and return to this valley of tears in order to satisfy its desires and to pay karma. As a movie of successive events, the E's pass in a successive order on the screen of life in order to represent their own role within the painful drama of life. Each I of this tragic movie of life has its own mind, its own ideas and criteria, since one thing which pleases one I displeases another I. The I that today swears loyalty before the Gnostic altar is later on displaced by another I, which hates gnosis. The I of a person which today swears eternal love to a beloved one is later on displaced by another I, which has nothing to do with that person or with that oath. The intellectual animal, mistakenly called man, has no individuality because he does not have a permanent center of gravity. He only has the pluralized I. Therefore, it is not strange that many people become affiliated with the Gnostic institutions and later on they become enemies of them. Today with gnosis and tomorrow against gnosis. Today in one school, tomorrow in another. Today with one woman, tomorrow with another. Today a friend, tomorrow an enemy, etc. 5. Return and reincarnation. Return and reincarnation are two different laws. Severe analysis brings us to the conclusion that a difference exists between returning and reincarnating. The I is not an individual, since it is constituted by many I's. Thus, every I, even when having something from our own subconsciousness, enjoys a certain self-independence. The I is a legion of devils. Thus, to affirm that this legion reincarnates is an absurdity. To affirm that an individual reincarnates is exact. Yet it is not exact to affirm that the legion of I's reincarnate. Millions of people exist in this world, yet it is very difficult to find an individual. We become individuals only by creating our superior existential bodies of the being, by dissolving the I and by incarnating the being. The sacred individuals reincarnate, yet the I only returns into a new womb in order to dress, or better if we say, redress himself with a new suit of flesh. The I continues in our mediate or immediate descendants. The I is the race, the error and the pain which continues. Some pseudo-occultist ignoramuses mistakenly suppose that the personality reincarnates. Thus, they frequently confuse the personality with the I. The personality is not the I. The personality does not reincarnate. The personality is a daughter of its time. Thus it dies in its time. The personality is not the physical body. The personality is not the vital body. The personality is not the I. The personality is not the soul. The personality is not the spirit. The personality is energetic, subtle, atomic, and it is formed during the first 7 years in our childhood, based on heritage, customs, examples, etc. It strengthens itself with time and experiences. 3 things go into the tomb or cemetery. 1, the physical body. 2, the vital body. 3, the personality. The physical and vital bodies disintegrate themselves little by little in a simultaneous way, yet the personality wanders around the cemetery or pantheon, and only through various centuries does it become disintegrated. The pluralized I is that which continues, that which is not disintegrated in the cemetery. Thus, the legion of I's continues with a common body. Such a body is not the astral body, as many people suppose. The body that the legion of E's utilizes is the lunar body or molecular body. It is necessary for the Gnostic students not to confuse this lunar body with the solar body. The solar body is the astral body. Really, only those who have worked with the Maithuna for many years can possess the astral body. The little eyes, which abide within the lunar body, project themselves throughout all of the regions of the cosmic mind. Then they return into their common body, the lunar body. Thus the eyes dressed with the lunar body return into a new womb in order to redress with the suit of flesh, and to repeat the same tragedies and bitterness in this valley of tears. Therefore, only those who possess the being can reincarnate. Those who do not possess the being only return. To possess the being is necessary in order to reincarnate. Not to possess the being is what is necessary in order to return. To reincarnate is a sacrifice. To return is a failure. Thus, the sacred individuals reincarnate in order to save the world. Yet, the imbeciles return in order to torment the world. Sacred reincarnations were always celebrated with great religious festivities in Tibet. Jesus of Nazareth was a reincarnation. The birth of Jesus was the greatest event of this world. 6. The dissolution of the I brethren of mine. This Christmas, it is necessary for you to deeply comprehend the necessity of dissolving the I. The greatest danger that exists in life is the danger of converting ourselves into Hanasmussen. Whosoever does not work in the dissolution of the I gradually degenerates himself more and more in each existence. Finally, he does not receive any more physical bodies because he has converted himself into a dangerous Hanasmus. 4 types of Hanasmussen exist. 1. Hanasmussen of a cretinous type, very decrepit, stupid, and degenerate. 2. Hanasmussen who are strong, astute, and perverse. 3. Hanasmussen with a double center of gravity, but without an astral body. They only have a lunar body. 4. Hanasmussen with a double center of gravity and with an astral body. The Hanasmussen of the first type are true cretins, idiots, and degenerated people. They are extremely perverse, yet they do not even have the strength in order to be perverse. This type is rapidly disintegrated after the death of their physical bodies. The Hanasmussen of the second type keep returning to this world in organisms of the animal kingdom. The Hanasmussen of the third type were initiates of white magic who acquired many psychic powers. Yet they went astray from their path and fell into black magic because they did not dissolve the I. This type of Hanasmus is like 2 heads of a coin, the obverse and the reverse. They have 2 internal personalities. One is white and the other black. Each one of these personalities has its own self-independence and psychic powers. The Hanasmussen of the fourth type are true fallen bodhisattvas who committed the mistake of strengthening the I. These Hanasmussen have a double center of gravity. One is diabolical and the other divine. What is most awful in the fourth type is that they have an astral body. One example of this type is Andramelech. This Hanasmus confuses the inexperienced evocator because there are two Andramelechs, one white and the other black. Both are adepts, yet they are opposites. Despite this, they are one. Both are true masters. One is a master of the White Lodge and the other of the Black Lodge. Many initiates achieve the creation of their superior existential bodies of the being, yet they fail because they do not dissolve the psychological I. These initiates cannot celebrate the nativity in their hearts. They cannot achieve the incarnation of their being in spite of possessing the superior existential bodies. Thus, they convert themselves into Hanasmussen with a double center of gravity. If deep self-realization is what we truly want, then it is necessary to comprehend the necessity of working with the three factors of the revolution of the consciousness. If any of the three factors of the revolution of the consciousness are excluded, then the outcome of this procedure is failure. Behold the three factors of the revolution of the consciousness: to be born, to die, and to sacrifice ourselves for humanity. Sexual magic, dissolution of the I, charity. This is the triple path of the righteous life. Some Gnostic students have written to us asking for a didactic in order to dissolve the I. The best didactic for the dissolution of the I is found in practical life that is intensely lived. Conviviality is a marvelous full-length mirror where the I can be contemplated in its entirety. The defects which are hidden in the bottom of our subconsciousness spontaneously emerge when we are in relationship with our fellow man. The defects burst out from us because our subconsciousness betrays us, and if we are in the state of alert perception, then we see them just as they are in themselves. The greatest joy for the Gnostic is to celebrate the discovery of some of his defects. A discovered defect becomes a dead defect. When we discover any defect, then we should see it in action, as when one is seeing a movie, yet without judging or condemning it. To intellectually comprehend the discovered defect is not enough. It is necessary to submerge ourselves into profound interior meditation in order to comprehend the defect in other levels of our mind. The mind has many levels and profundities. If we have not comprehended a defect in all the levels of the mind, then we have done nothing, because the defect continues existing as a tempting demon in the bottom of our own subconsciousness. When a defect is integrally comprehended in all the levels of the mind, then it is disintegrated along with the small I, which characterizes it. Thus the defect is reduced to cosmic dust in the suprasensible worlds. This is how we die from moment to moment. This is how we establish a permanent center of consciousness, a permanent center of gravity within ourselves. The Buddhata, the interior Buddhist principle, the psychic material or the prime matter, in order to build that which is called soul, exists within every human being who is not in an extreme state of degeneration. The pluralized I stupidly wastes such psychic material in absurd atomic explosions of envy, greed, hatred, fornication, attachment, vanity, etc. This psychic material is accumulated within ourselves in accordance with the death of the pluralized I from moment to moment. Thus we attain a permanent center of consciousness. This is how we individualize ourselves little by little. When we rid ourselves of ego, then we become individualized. However, we clarify that individuality is not everything, because we have to pass into the supra-individuality when experiencing the event of Bethlehem. The work of the dissolution of the I is something very serious. We need to profoundly study ourselves in all of the levels of the mind, because the I is a book of many volumes. We need to study our thoughts, emotions, and actions from moment to moment, without justifying them or condemning them. We need to integrally comprehend all and every one of our defects in all of the profundities of the mind. The pluralized I is the subconsciousness. When we dissolve the I, the subconsciousness is transformed into consciousness. We need to convert the subconsciousness into consciousness. And this is only possible by achieving the annihilation of the I. Continuous awakened consciousness is acquired when our consciousness occupies the place of the subconsciousness. Whosoever enjoys continuous consciousness lives conscious each and every instant, not only in the physical world, but also in the superior worlds. This present humanity is 97% in the subconscious. Therefore, this humanity profoundly sleeps, not only in this physical world, but also in the suprasensible worlds, during the sleep of the physical body as well as after death. We need the death of our I. We need to die from moment to moment, here and now, not only in this physical world, but also in all of the planes of the cosmic mind. We need to be pitiless against ourselves in order to dissect the I with the tremendous scalpel of self-criticism. 7. The battle of the opposites. A great master once said, "Seek enlightenment, for all else will be added unto you." Enlightenment's worst enemy is the I. It is necessary to know that the I is a knot in the flow of existence, a fatal obstruction in the flow of life, free in its movement. A master was asked, "Which is the way?" "What a magnificent mountain," he said, referring to the mountain where he had his haven. "I do not ask you about the mountain. Instead, I ask you about the path." "As long as you cannot go beyond the mountain, you will not be able to find the path," answered the master. Another monk asked the same question to that same master. "There it is, right before your eyes," the master answered him. "Why can I not see it?" "Because you have egotistical ideas." "Will I be able to see it, sir?" "As long as you have dualistic vision and you say, 'I cannot,' and so on, your eyes will be blinded by that relative vision. When there is no I or you, can it be seen? When there is no I or you, who wants to see it? The foundation of the I is the dualism of the mind. The I is sustained by the battle of the opposites. All thinking is based upon the battle of the opposites. If we say such person is tall, we want to say that she is not short. If we say that we are entering, we want to say that we are not exiting. If we say that we are happy, with that we affirm that we are not sad, etc. The problems of life are nothing more than mental forms with two poles, one positive and the other negative. Problems are sustained by the mind and are created by the mind. When we stop thinking about a problem, inevitably the latter ends. Happiness and sadness, pleasure and pain, good and evil, victory and defeat. These constitute the battle of the opposites upon which the I is rooted. We live our entire miserable life going from one extreme to another, victory, defeat, like, dislike, pleasure, pain, failure, success, this, that, etc. We need to free ourselves from the tyranny of the opposites. This is only possible by learning how to live from moment to moment without any type of abstractions, without any dreams and without any fantasies. Hast thou observed how the stones on the road are pale and pure after a torrential rain? One can only murmur an "oh" of admiration. We must comprehend that "oh" of things without deforming that divine exclamation with the battle of the opposites. Joshu asked the Master Nansen, "What is the Tao?" "Ordinary life," replied Nansen. "What does one do in order to live in accordance with it? If you try to live in accordance with it, then it will flee away from you. Do not try to sing that song. Let it be sung by itself. Does not the humble hiccup come by itself? Remember this phrase. Gnosis is lived upon facts, withers away in abstractions, and is difficult to find even in the noblest of thoughts." They asked the Master Bokujo, "Do we have to dress and eat daily? How could we escape from this?" The Master replied, "We eat, we get dressed." "I do not comprehend," said the disciple. "Then get dressed and eat," said the Master. This is precisely action free of the opposites. Do we eat? Do we get dressed? Why make a problem of that? Why think about other things while we are eating and getting dressed? If you are eating, eat. If you are getting dressed, get dressed. And if you are walking on the street, walk, walk, walk. But do not think about anything else. Do only what you are doing. Do not run away from the facts. Do not fill them with so many meanings, symbols, sermons, and warnings. Live them without allegories. Live them with a receptive mind from moment to moment. Comprehend that I am talking to you about the path of action, free of the painful battle of the opposites. I am talking to you about action without distractions, without evasions, without fantasies, without abstractions of any kind. Change thy character, beloved. Change it through intelligent action, free of the battle of the opposites. When the doors of fantasy are closed, the organ of intuition awakens. Action free of the battle of the opposites is intuitive action, full action, for where there is plenitude, the I is absent. Intuitive action leads us by the hand towards the awakening of the consciousness. Let us work and rest happily, abandoning ourselves to the course of life. Let us exhaust the turbid and rotten waters of habitual thinking. Thus, into the emptiness gnosis will flow, and with it the happiness of living. This intelligent action, free of the battle of the opposites, elevates us to a breaking point. When everything is proceeding well, the rigid roof of thinking is broken. Then the light and power of the inner self floods the mind that has stopped dreaming. Then in the physical world and beyond, while the material body sleeps, we live totally conscious and enlightened, enjoying the joys of life within the superior worlds. This continuous tension of the mind, this discipline, takes us towards the awakening of the consciousness. If we are eating and thinking about business, it is clear that we are dreaming. If we are driving an automobile and we are thinking about our fiancé, it is logical that we are not awake. We are dreaming. If we are working and we are remembering our child's godfather or godmother, or our friend or brother, etc., it is clear that we are dreaming. People who live dreaming in the physical world also live dreaming within the internal worlds. During those hours in which the physical body is asleep, one needs to cease dreaming within the internal worlds. When we stop dreaming in the physical world, we awaken here and now, and that awakening appears in the internal worlds. First seek enlightenment, and all else will be added unto you. Whosoever is enlightened sees the way. Whosoever is not enlightened cannot see the way, and can easily be led astray from the path and fall into the abyss. Tremendous is the effort and the vigilance that is needed from second to second, from moment to moment, in order to not fall into illusions. 1 minute of unawareness is enough for the mind to be already dreaming about something else, distracting it from the job or deed that we are living at the moment. When we are in the physical world, we learn to be awake from moment to moment. We then live awakened and self-conscious from moment to moment in the internal worlds, both during the hours of sleep of the physical body and also after death. It is painful to know that the consciousness of all human beings sleeps and dreams profoundly, not only during the hours of rest of the physical body, but also during that state, ironically called the vigil state. Action free of mental dualism produces the awakening of the consciousness. 8. The technique of meditation. The technique of meditation permits us to arrive at the heights of illumination. We should distinguish between a mind that is still and a mind that is stilled by force. We should distinguish between a mind that is in silence and a mind that is violently silenced. When the mind is stilled by force, it is really not still. It is gagged by violence, and in the deeper levels of understanding, there exists an entire tempest. When the mind is violently silenced, it is really not in silence. Deep within, it clamors, shouts, and despairs. It is necessary to put an end to modifications of the thinking system during meditation. When the thinking system remains under our control, illumination comes to us spontaneously. Mental control permits us to destroy the shackles created by the mind. To achieve the stillness and silence of the mind, it is necessary to know how to live from instant to instant, to know how to take advantage of each moment, to not live the moment in doses. Take everything from each moment, because each moment is a child of gnosis. Each moment is absolute, alive, and significant. Momentariness is a special characteristic of the Gnostics. We love the philosophy of momentariness. Master Umam said to his disciples, "If you walk, walk. If you sit, sit, but do not vacillate." To commence with the study of the technique of meditation is to enter into the antechamber of the divine peace that surpasses all knowledge. The most elevated form of thinking is non-thinking. When one achieves the stillness and silence of the mind, the I, with all its passions, dens, appetites, fears, affections, etc., becomes absent. It is only in the absence of the I, in the absence of the mind, that the Buddhata can awaken to unite with the inner self and take us to ecstasy. The school of black magic of the Subub states that the monad or the great reality will penetrate in him who does not possess the existential bodies of the being. This is a false statement. What enters into those tenebrous fanatics of Subab are evil entities that express themselves through these people with gestures, actions, bestial and absurd words. Such people are possessed by the tenebrous ones. The stillness and silence of the mind has a single objective: to liberate the essence from the mind, so that when fused with the monad or inner self, it, the essence, can experience that which we call the truth. During ecstasy and in the absence of the I, the essence can live freely in the world of the mist of fire, experiencing the truth. When the mind is in a passive and receptive state, absolutely still and in silence, the essence or Buddhata is liberated from the mind and ecstasy arrives. The essence is always bottled up in the battle of the opposites. But when the battling ends and the silence is absolute, then the essence remains free and the bottle is broken into pieces. When we practice meditation, our mind is assaulted by many memories, desires, passions, preoccupations, etc. We should avoid the conflict between attention and distraction. A conflict exists between attention and distraction when we combat those assailants of the mind. The I is the projector of such mental assailants. Where there is conflict, stillness and silence cannot exist. We should nullify the projector through self-observation and comprehension. Examine each image, each memory, each thought that comes to the mind. Remember that every thought has two poles, positive and negative. Entering and leaving are two aspects of a same thing. The dining room and the washroom, tall and short, pleasant and unpleasant, etc., are always two poles of the same thing. Examine the two poles of each mental form that comes to the mind. Remember that only through the study of these polarities can one arrive at a synthesis. Every mental form can be eliminated through its synthesis. Example: the memory of a fiancé assaults us. Is she beautiful? Let us think that beauty is the opposite of ugliness, and that if in her youth she is beautiful, in her old age she will be ugly. The synthesis: it is not worthwhile to think about her. She is an illusion, a flower that inevitably withers. In India, this self-observation and study of our psyche is properly called pratyahara. Bird-like thoughts should pass through the space of our own mind in a successive parade, but without leaving any trace. The infinite procession of thoughts projected by the I are exhausted in the end, and then the mind remains still and in silence. A great self-realized master said, only when the projector, in other words, the I, is completely absent, then befalls the silence which is not a product of the mind. This silence is inexhaustible, it is not of time, it is immeasurable. Only then arrives that, which is this whole technique is summarized in two principles. One, profound reflection. Two, tremendous serenity. This technique of meditation, with its non-thinking, puts to work the most central part of the mind, the one that produces the ecstasy. Remember that the central part of the mind is that which is called Buddhata, the essence, the consciousness. When the Buddhata awakens, we remain illuminated. We need to awaken the Buddhata, the consciousness. The Gnostic student can practice meditation seated in the Western or Oriental style. It is advisable to practice with eyes closed to avoid the distractions of the exterior world. It is also convenient to relax the body carefully, avoiding any muscle remaining in tension. The Buddhata, the essence, is the psychic material, the inner Buddhist principle, the spiritual material or prime matter with which we will give shape to the soul. The Buddhata is the best that we have within and awakens with profound inner meditation. The Buddhata is really the only element that the poor intellectual animal possesses to arrive at the experience of that which we call the truth. The only thing that the intellectual animal can do, being unable to incarnate the being due to the fact that he still does not possess the superior existential bodies, is to practice meditation, to auto-awaken the Buddhata, and to know the truth. Jesus, the Divine Master, whose nativity we celebrate this year, 1964, said, "Know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:32. 9. Ecstasy Isan sent a mirror to Master Koisen, who showed it to his monks and said, "Is this Isan's mirror or my mirror? If you say that it belongs to Isan, how is it that it is in my hands? If you say that it is mine, have I not received it from Isan's hands? Speak, speak, or else I will break it to pieces." The monks were unable to pass between those two opposites, and the master broke the mirror into pieces. Ecstasy is impossible as long as the essence is bottled up in the opposites. In the times of Babylon, the Bodhisattva of the most saintly Ashyata Shemash, a great avatar, came to the world. The Bodhisattva was not fallen, and like every Bodhisattva, he had his superior existential bodies of the being normally developed. When he reached a responsible age, he arrived at the Vesinian mountain and entered a cavern. The tradition narrates that he carried out 3 tremendous fasts of 40 days, each accompanied by intentional and voluntary suffering. He dedicated the first fast to prayer and meditation. The second fast was dedicated to reviewing his entire life and his past lives. The third fast was definitive. It was dedicated to putting an end to the mechanical association of the mind. He did not eat, he only drank water, and every half hour he pulled out 2 hairs from his chest. There are 2 types of mechanical association which are the foundation of the opposites. A, mechanical association by means of ideas, words, phrases, etc. B, mechanical association by images, forms, things, persons, etc. An idea associates with another, a word with another, a phrase with another, and the battle of the opposites follows. One person associates with another, the memory of someone comes to his mind. An image associates with another, a form with another, and the battle of the opposites continues. The Bodhisattva of the Avatar, Ashyata Shemash, suffered the unutterable, fasting for 40 days, mortifying himself horribly, sunk in profound inner meditation. He achieved the disassociation from the mental mechanism, and his mind remained solemnly still and in imposing silence. The result was ecstasy, with the incarnation of his real being. Ashyata Shemash carried out a great work in Asia, founding monasteries and establishing rulers with awakened consciousness everywhere. This Bodhisattva was able to incarnate his real being during meditation because he already possessed the superior existential bodies of the being. Those who do not have the superior existential bodies of the being cannot succeed in getting the divinity or the being to operate or incarnate in them. However, they are able to liberate their essence so that it will fuse with their being and participate in his ecstasy. In the state of ecstasy, we can study the great mysteries of life and death. We have to study the ritual of life and death until the officiant, the inner self, the being, arrives. It is only in the absence of the I that one can experience the bliss of the being. Only in the absence of the I can ecstasy be attained. When one achieves the dissolution of the mental mechanism, then comes that which the Oriental race calls the breaking of the bag, the eruption of the void. Then there is a shout of joy because the essence, the Buddhata, has escaped from within the battle of the opposites, and it now participates in the communion of the saints. Only through the experience of ecstasy can we know what the truth and life is. Only in the absence of the I can we enjoy the ecstasy of life in its movement. Only in the state of ecstasy can we discover the deep significance of the Nativity, which every year we always celebrate with jubilation in our hearts. When in the state of ecstasy we study the life of Christ, then we discover that a great fragment of this cosmic drama represented by the Lord remains unwritten. We must practice Gnostic meditation daily. It can be practiced alone or in a group. This technique of meditation, taught in this book, must be established in all of the Gnostic lumiciels as an obligation, thus converting those lumiciels into centers of meditation. All of the Gnostic brethren must gather, sit and meditate as a group. Every Gnostic group must practice this technique of meditation before or after the meetings of second chamber. This technique of meditation also can and must be practiced daily in our homes. Those who can go out to the woods, to the country, must do so in order to meditate within the silence of the forest. It is necessary to include within the order of the Gnostic Lumiciels the technique of meditation based on the message and the teachings of this book. Thus, we deliver the unique technique of meditation that must be accepted in all of the Lumiciels. It is false to asseverate that the great reality can operate inside of an individual who does not possess the existential bodies of the being. It is stupid to affirm that the great reality can penetrate inside of any body, as the tenebrous ones from Subub assert, in order, they say, to cast out of ourselves the instinctive submerged animal entities which constitute the pluralized I. We repeat, the great reality cannot penetrate inside of those who do not possess the superior existential bodies of the being. We can create the superior existential bodies of the being only with the Mathuna, sexual magic. The great avatar Ashyata Shemash could incarnate within his bodhisattva when the mind of the latter was in absolute quietude and silence. This was due to the concrete fact that he already was in possession of his superior existential bodies of the being from ancient reincarnations. It is also necessary to clarify that after the ecstasy, and in spite of having received a tremendous amount of energy, the I is not dissolved, as many students of occultism mistakenly believe. The dissolution of the I is only possible through profound comprehension and through incessant daily work on ourselves, from instant to instant. We explain all of this in order not to confuse the Gnostic meditation with the tenebrous practices of Subab and many other schools of black magic. When a mystic attains the ecstasy and returns into his physical body, then he feels the urgent necessity of creating the superior existential bodies of the being and the indescribable longing of dissolving the I. Ecstasy is not a nebulous state, but a transcendental state of wonderment, which is associated with perfect mental clarity.